Was the billboard advertising that was placed, was that at a national level, or was it placed at a local level? How do you know how it was placed?
Well, objection vague and ambiguous.
It varied.
Okay. Was Joe Camel placed at a national level?
Objection vague and ambiguous.
And how would you define national for a billboard placement?
Okay. My definition would be you contact the ad agency and tell them to place the ad campaign across the country.
It's more complex than that, but broadly, yes, it was national.
Okay. Was the placement of the "What Are You Looking For" ad campaign, was that done at a national level?
Objection vague and ambiguous.
I'm not sure.
And was the Mighty Tasty ad campaign done at a national level?
Objection vague and ambiguous.
The billboard ad, that is.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And you weren't sure about "What Are You Looking For," and if it wasn't done at a national level, how would it have been done as the billboard placement?
I don't recall the spending behind that billboard effort and whether it would have been a national level spending or less.
Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed these 4 Camel ad campaigns at event sites like rock and roll concerts?
I don't know.
Okay. And is there someone that handles event sites advertising, would be a person more knowledgeable than you?
That would be Patty Itterman.
Okay. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed these 4 Camel ad campaigns in convenience stores?
Objection compound.
Okay. You want me to break it down?
I'm afraid so.
Okay. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed the Joe Camel ad campaigns at convenience stores?
There were Joe Camel images on point of sale during that period.
Okay. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed "What Are You Looking For" images at convenience stores?
I don't think the creative was what you're looking for in retail stores.
Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed the Mighty Tasty images at convenience stores?
The language of the slogan Mighty Tasty was in convenience stores during that time.
Is it true or false during the class period that RJR placed the Pleasure to Burn images at convenience stores?
Yes.
Is it true or false during the class period that RJR placed the Joe Camel image as a counter display?
The signage in the top portion of the counter display may have included Joe Camel.
Okay. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR placed the Mighty Tasty words, as you described it, in the counter display at convenience stores?
Yes.
Is it true or false during the class period that Pleasure to Burn images were in counter displays at convenience stores?
Pleasure to Burn was used in promotions that would have displays. Whether they were on the counter, I don't know.
Okay. And they would have appeared somewhere at convenience stores, to your knowledge. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR had a coupon campaign for Camels?
coupon campaign?
Yes.
What do you mean by coupon campaign?
Camel Cash, where you could turn in Camel Cash for merchandise.
Yes.
Okay. So, is it true or false that during the class period, RJR had a coupon campaign for camels?
Camel had Camel Cash during the period of this class action.
Okay. Is it true or false that during the class period, RJR had a special merchandising division for camels?
Objection, vague and ambiguous.
And what do you mean by special merchandising division?
A division where they were merchandising camels, for example, buy 2 packs of camels and get a free T-shirt. You know, like that.
Well, I'll still object, vague and ambiguous.
There were many promotions on camel during that period.
And would those promos be taken care of in the merchandising division or some other division at RJR?
That would be in my marketing group.
Okay. So you were in charge of the advertising and the promotion?
That's correct.
Okay. So, for example, one of them was, as I recall, I think it was buy 2 packs of camel and receive a T-shirt. Do you recall that one? Is that a correct one?
Objection, vague and ambiguous. You're asking her if such a promotion ever occurred?
Yes.
Okay.
There could have been a promotion where you bought camels and received a free T-shirt, yes.
And those free T-shirts, were they given away at the store where they bought the cigarettes? Is that how it worked?
The T-shirts were prepackaged with the cigarettes, such that the cigarettes, when they were purchased, included the T-shirt.
Okay. And those T-shirts, you recall if they had images of a camel on it?
There were different T-shirts that included different images.
Okay. Why don't you tell me the images on the T-shirts that existed during the class period?
There were a number of different T-shirts. I'm not sure I can recall all the T-shirts.
Why don't you just give me your best recollection, if you could?
It's been a number of years since we ran T-shirts in retail outlets, and so I'm afraid I could potentially incorrectly describe the T-shirt.
Do you have a recollection of any of those T-shirts having a warning label on them?
We did not put warning labels on T-shirts.
Do you have a recollection of any of the T-shirts just having a picture of the camel, best I could call it?
The trademark?
Yes.
Camel, we refer to him as the trademark?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any of the T-shirts have images of Joe Camel on them?
I believe yes.
Is it true or false that RJR has represented to the public that they do not conduct consumer surveys of children?
Objection, lacks foundation.
True.
Is it true or false that RJR conducts consumer surveys among children?
False.
Is it true or false that RJR has represented to the public that they've never studied children's attitudes towards smoking?
Objection, lacks foundation.
I don't know.
Is it true or false that RJR has, in fact, never studied children's attitudes towards smoking?
I'm not sure.
Is it true or false that RJR designs cigarettes as a nicotine delivery system?
Objection, vague and ambiguous.
I don't.
Also way out, well, it's outside what she's been brought here to talk about.
I don't know.
Could I ask it another way? Have you ever talked to anybody at RJR about the fact that cigarettes are a nicotine delivery system?
No, I have not.
No one at RJR has ever told you that RJR is in the business of delivering nicotine through cigarettes?
No one has ever told me that.
Is it true or false that RJR designs image advertising to be attractive to children?
False.
Okay. Is it true or false that RJR understands that they must convince children to smoke for irrational reasons such as to experiment, to defy, or to be daring?
False.
Objection. Vague and ambiguous compound.
Is it true or false that RJ understands that they must design cigarettes for beginning smokers to be low in irritation?
Objection. Calls for speculation. Vague and ambiguous.
I don't know.
Is it true or false that RJR has studied pre-smokers?
Objection. Vague and ambiguous.
I don't know.
Is it true or false that RJR's use of the code words younger adult smokers is a code for smokers 14 to 24?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
False.
Is it true or false that RJR's use of the code words younger adult smokers is a code words for smokers 16 to 24?
Objection. Calls for speculation. Assumes facts not in evidence.
False.
Is it true or false that one of the purposes of the Master Settlement Agreement was to lessen the exposure of cigarette advertisements to children?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
True.
Is it true or false that one of the purposes of the Master Settlement Agreement was to eliminate cartoons from cigarette advertisements?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
True.
Is it true or false that one of the purposes of eliminating cartoons from cigarette advertisements was to lessen the appeal of cigarette advertisements to children?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
That was the claim.
So,
True.
is it true or false that RJR sells Camel lights?
True.
Is it true or false that use of the word lights is a health representation?
I don't know.
Have you ever discussed with anybody at RJR as the marketing vice president of Camels that Camel, the use of the word lights is a health representation?
No, I haven't.
Is it true or false that use of the word lights is a safety representation?
I don't know.
Is it true or false that light cigarettes, that is, for example, Camel lights, are healthier than Camel regular cigarettes?
I don't know.
Has anybody at RJR ever conducted a study, to your knowledge, as to the health safety of Camel lights versus Camel regulars?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical now. It's going to be long, but I'm sure your counsel's going to object, but it's a marketing hypothetical. And you have a friend, Miss Creighton. Your friend's age 25. He likes having relationships with young girls ages 14 to 24. Okay. You know, he finds these girls by placing ads in Sports Illustrated, hanging out at convenience stores, and going to NASCAR events and motorcycle events. You confront him that you know he's having relationships with young girls ages 14 to 17, and that if he doesn't stop, you're going to have to report him to the police as a child molester. He agrees, and he tells you he's no longer going to have relationships with children, and that to prove this to you, he's going to change his ways. But he still intends to advertise in Sports Illustrated, hang out at convenience stores, and go to NASCAR and motorcycle events. My question is, would you believe he really intends to no longer molest children, or do you believe actions speak louder than words?
Well, you're right, I'm going to object. It's an incomplete hypothetical, it's vague and ambiguous, and primarily that it's entirely argumentative. Also, it's compound. And, of course, irrelevant. And outside anything she's been asked to testify about. Yeah, if you understand the question and have a response, you can provide it. Ms. Creighton.
To the extent that I understand the question, my answer is I don't know.
Could we take a break, Norm?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And on the record, anytime you want to take a break, please, if you've had your deposition taken before, you can ask them. Have to go comment.
We are off the record. The time is 10:55 a.m.
And don't forget to take up.
We are back on the record. The time is 11:09 a.m.
Back on the record again, Ms. Creighton. There's some issues that came up in the first session this morning about what you know in terms of cigarette smoking as part of your job as the person most knowledgeable in consumer smoking and tobacco products. What I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to play a tape for you, and if you have, you can stop it at any time you want in terms of the facts that are going to come up. But my question is to you, as you go through it, any of these facts, I want to know if you knew that as part of your job and the person most knowledgeable at RJR, all right?
Wait, I'm not sure I'm going to consent to this. You're playing an audio tape for her?
Yes.
And you're asking her to, at some point, stop, or?
No, we can play it through. It's a foundational question. There was issues on foundation as to what she knew about whether or not cigarettes cause cancer, as to what she knew about whether or not cigarettes cause emphysema or addiction. And my question is, as part of her job at RJR, I'm going to show a tape with some foundational points on it if she knows this information.
No, I mean, I'll let you play the tape, but I'm not sure I'll let her answer any questions. And letting you play the tape should in no way be taken that I think these are legitimate questions or that she's agreed to do what you've asked. I'll listen to the tape. I'll be open-minded about this, but it sounds to me like not proper procedure, and so, we'll listen to the tape.
And your objections duly noted. This is the only way. I tried to do it through the questions, and I wasn't successful. So I'm going to try to lay the foundation through the tape, and I'll ask you some questions on the tape when it's over. All right? So we'll go ahead. It's going to be on the screen behind you. We'll go ahead and play that for you. Yeah. It's a video. Yeah. No, it's a video.
Gentlemen, we welcome you to our hearing today. If you raise your right hand, you swear that the testimony you're about to
Yeah, no,
give
stop.
is the
I'm not going to allow this to occur. This is completely improper. None of this has anything to do with the reason she's been brought here as a PMK. Her knowledge of health effects was covered in the prior depositions. The understanding was as an individual it would be post the prior depositions taken in connection with the MSA. No, I mean, you can play the tape if you want. We will leave the room until it's done, and then we'll come back and we won't be answering any questions about it. You can ask her questions from your own mouth about anything that's reasonably within what she's been brought here, but I'm not going to have you play a videotape and then somehow ask her questions later about the videotape. I'm just not going to permit it.
Todd, I tried to do it with the questions.
You'll have to try harder, Norm, because this is not accepted deposition procedure. It's not what a deposition is about.
Okay. Let me tell you what's on the tape, and I'll try to explain this to you. This witness is here as a PMK. I don't know if she'll ever be back. I question, with all due respect to you, Ms. Creighton, I question your veracity, and I'm doing this as cross-examination. Because on the tape, and we're going to play the tape, you're going to see Mr. Johnson state that cigarette smoking is not addictive. He's going to state that it's not been proven that cigarette smoking causes cancer. He's going to state that Joe Camel is not attractive to children. And there's various other statements made on the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And in asking Ms. Creighton these questions before, I don't believe I was receiving the whole truth from her, and the purpose of playing the tape is this is her boss at the time that she was at the company making statements about the addictive nature of cigarettes, which are simply not true, about the links between cigarettes and cancer, which are simply not true. And I'm playing the tape because, for cross-examination purposes, because I don't believe, with all due respect, that you're being perfectly candid with me with regard to your knowledge. So that's the purpose of playing it.
But the tape is inevitably going to involve all sorts of compound issues. If Mr. Johnson said that at some time, you're welcome to ask her whether she's aware that he said that.
I've already asked those questions.
And she gave you an answer. And actually, I mean, I understand you attacked her credibility, but you did it in a polite way, so I'm not going to yell back at you. But you got your answer. You had your opportunity to ask the question. If you want to ask more specific questions to probe, that's certainly permitted. Although, again, all this is outside why she was brought here, which was not to talk about Reynolds' public representations about health effects or children's marketing. Those issues are not in the PMKs or not fairly within the PMKs. Again, the topics in the PMK notice are so broad, you can't say, I set down this broad thing, consumer marketing, and then say everything that I decide to ask falls within that. That's just not a legitimate way to go. If you're going to ask, if you're going to have broad categories like consumer smoking, you're going to have to suffer with the fact that no one can know what the hell you're talking about, and no one can prepare properly for that. So, again, I won't permit this procedure. I will let you ask, for example, the question about Mr. Johnson and what he said at a particular time and whether she's aware of it.
And to do that, I'm going to play the tape, and you don't have to sit in the room. You're free to leave while I play it, but I'm going to put it on the record. If you'd like to stay, I can't keep you here, obviously, but we're going to play the tape. So it's your choice.
And I'm not going to stop you from playing the tape.
Okay.
I also probably overstated when I said we'd leave. I simply will instruct her not to answer any questions about the tape.
Okay. Why don't we start it back at the beginning? You want to back it up? And it was jumpy a little bit there, you can correct it.
Before you start, how long is the tape? Do you know?
It's going to run, my recollection when I did it myself, I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's about 15 minutes.
Okay.
You know, I got to say, Norm, you're going to waste 15 minutes of her time plus another 15 minutes asking questions that I'll instruct her not to answer. And frankly, maybe I spoke too soon again when I said we wouldn't leave the room. I mean, it's 15 minutes. You expect you're going to film a videotape for 15 minutes. I just can't believe you really plan on doing it.
And you're free to stay and free to go, and I'm going to ask questions on it, and you're free to instruct her not to answer. But I have foundation, and we'll go to the judge at some point, because I think that I'm entitled to some answers to these questions after she...
I don't. Actually, I got to say, well, you can play the tape to make your record. We're leaving.
Okay.
And we'll come back. But again, I'll instruct her not to answer, and I'm not going to ever sit here while you repeatedly ask questions about it and force her to answer repeatedly.
No, I think that you can make an offer of proof that you're not going to answer any questions on it after I play it.
I'll do that now, and you're still going to waste our time with going through playing the tape.
I'm going to make my offer, and you can certainly make yours, but I'm not going to be deterred in making my presentation.
Okay. All right, Ms. Creighton, let's go. When the tape's over, you can tell.
Okay. And for the record, you can note that the witness and her counsel have left the room, and we will play the tape.